Hey, what's up, guys? Today, I'll show you a supernatural horror film, BOOGEYMAN Part 2. Spoiler ahead, watch out and take care. The movie begins when an innocent young girl, Laura, is celebrating her birthday with her parents and her brother. It appears that the brother is afraid of the dark, so he cannot go to the bathroom because the lights are malfunctioning. As their father is fixing the light, a masked killer comes out of the door. The killer then stabs their father, and it opens up his stomach, causing his organs to come out. Laura and her brother witness the whole horrifying scene, and they are crying because of fear. They believe that the killer is the BOOGEYMAN. As they reunite, they hear their mother scream. They wander through the house, only to find their mother already killed by the killer. 10 years later, Laura and her brother are still traumatized by the scene, and they develop a fear of the BOOGEYMAN. The brother brought himself to a mental facility. He aims to fix himself from his fear to make himself fit for work. After months from the mental facility, Laura picks him up since he is deemed to conquer his fears. There, the psychiatrist tries to convince Laura to submit herself to the mental facility so she can conquer her fears. The brother reveals to Laura that he is leaving for a printing job in another city. That night, Laura wakes up from the BOOGEYMAN nightmare. She screams loudly, and she cannot stop crying. She reveals to her brother that she is still suffering from fear, so she decides to submit herself to the mental facility, where she initially encounters a strange acting girl who is bulimic and suffering from fear of gaining weight. She stays in the same room where Laura's brother stayed to fix his fear. She puts her bag in the closet, and its light suddenly turns off. She then visualizes that the BOOGEYMAN is approaching her. Two boys, a nyctophobic and a misophobic, enter the room to befriend her. After that, they attend the roundtable discussion of their fears, led by the psychiatrist and Dr. Allen. There, Laura knows more people suffering from their fears. She knows about the masochistic, who is inflicting pain on herself, and the agoraphobic, who is also suffering from the fear of commitment. Laura shares her fear of the BOOGEYMAN, and the other patients laugh at her condition, since they think that there is no such thing as boogeyphobia. She then walks out of the discussion and wants to leave the mental facility. The psychiatrist follows her and shares that she needs to face the fear in order to conquer it. That night, when everyone comes to their own rooms, nyctophobic sneaks to the facility basement. As he's smoking around, he suddenly hears a movement around. He walks out of the room, and the lights turn off one after the other. After a few moments, the place is in complete darkness, triggering his nyctophobia. He rushes to the elevator. Out of desperation to escape the darkness, he forces himself to open the elevator door, and he seems to fall into the elevator shaft. A nurse hears the commotion and comes to check it. She is completely horrified as she witnesses nyctophobic's mutilated body hanging on the elevator shaft. The next day, the doctors and patients discuss nyctophobic's death. Dr. Allen reveals that the police consider his death to be an accident because of his fear of the dark. As they are talking, misophobic realizes that he is not sitting on his chair. Thinking that the chair might be full of germs, his germophobia is ultimately triggered. Laura suggests that someone deliberately turn off the light to force nyctophobic to jump into the elevator shaft. She suggests that the BOOGEYMAN probably did it, but Dr. Allen disregards her suggestion. She goes back to her room and calls her brother, who says that he will visit her tomorrow. Dr. Allen explains to Laura that her fears are only internal and BOOGEYMAN does not exist in the external world. He then says that everyone fears the same thing and their fears just appear differently. Night comes and Laura is taking a shower when she sees blood flowing around. She thinks that there is someone dead again, but it turns out that masochistic is cutting herself on the corner. She then proceeds to walk out of the bathroom and encounters bulimic outside, who shares that she is having a romantic relationship with agoraphobic. Laura continues walking around and finds misophobic obsessively cleaning his room. Later, misophobic is alone eating chips in his room. He is unaware that there are cockroaches with his chips, and he accidentally eats some. He frantically finds water to clean up his mouth, but all of the water bottles in the fridge are empty. A figure enters the room, and the figure kicks the bottle of cleaning solution to him. Since he is too scared of germs, he drinks the cleaning solution in utter desperation, leading to his eventual death. They find him suffering, but they cannot go outside of the mental facility because it is already locked down at that time. At the same time, the computer system of the facility is malfunctioning, preventing them from opening up the facility. They try using the phone to let someone open the facility, but the phone is also malfunctioning at that time. As the system of the mental facility appears to be malfunctioning, the nurse walks down to the basement to check on the computer system. Soon after, the psychiatrist goes to the basement to check on a patient. There, she encounters the killer, who throws electrocutes at her. The mental patients are panicking at that point, and they try to console each other. Masochistic thinks that it is impossible to have a cockroach in misophobic's room. Masochistic suggests to Laura that someone deliberately triggered their fear in order to lead them to their death. Laura insists that it must be the boogeyman. The idea pisses off agoraphobic, causing him to walk out of the room. Bulimic follows him, but he pushes her away. She confronts him, asking why it appears that he hates her. She thinks that she is going too thin. In response, he explains that he is not simply afraid of the external world, but he is also afraid of the people in it. He then reassures her by engaging in a hormone ship with her. In the meantime, Masochistic wakes up in her room, being taped in her bed, preventing her from moving around. But the tape allows her to move only her hands. She finds maggots eating through her self-inflicted cuts. She tries her best to scream for help. Unfortunately, the tape in her mouth prevented her from doing so. The maggots slowly burrow through her skin, forcing her to grab the blade beside her. She then cuts her skin and uses her hands to grab the maggot out of her skin. Unfortunately, she also removes her own flesh, leading to her death. Soon after, Laura comes to check on Masochistic. She finds her under the blanket, and as she removes it, her dead body is revealed to her. She frantically runs outside to scream for help. She keeps crying for someone to help her until agoraphobic and bulimic hear her. She then explains to them that Masochistic is dead in her room. She says that they must find the psychiatrist, who is still missing at this point. They run to Masochistic's room. As they arrive there, her dead body is already gone. At the same time, the room is without any trace of blood, making agoraphobic and bulimic doubt Laura's claims. She says that the boogeyman must have cleaned it. Since the two do not believe in the boogeyman, they think that Laura is hallucinating again. But the three panic as they realize that everyone has gone missing. They begin to think that Dr. Allen must be the one who is responsible for the deaths in the mental facility. They believe Dr. Allen is forcing them to face their fears, even if it will lead to their death, because in the past, Dr. Allen locked Laura's brother inside the closet to face and fix his fear. Laura rushes to the office and checks the files about the boogeyman patients. She reads the psychiatric observations, and there she learns that the boogeyman patients were not able to differentiate their own personality from the boogeyman. In the file, one of the former boogeyman patients committed killings, but instead of blaming himself, he blames the boogeyman for committing it. So Laura believes that whoever is committing the killings is suffering from boogeyphobia. Agoraphobic thinks that her idea is absurd. Laura suggests they should fix the computer system in the mental facility so they can let themselves out. But agoraphobic decides to just stay in his room until the staff arrive in the morning, and bulimic joins him. As agoraphobic and bulimic are left alone in the room, the two start arguing again. Agoraphobic then pushes her out of the room. He expresses his anger and comes to the clinic after injuring himself. He walks back to his room and finds a tape recorder playing. The tape record plays a recording of himself opening up to his emotions. Just then, the boogeyman appears behind him. The boogeyman then pins him to the bed and stabs him with the surgical tool. Since his fears are opening up to his emotions, the boogeyman opens his chest, using the surgical tool to expose his heart. After that, the boogeyman rips his heart out, which leads to his death. Meanwhile, Laura is exploring her brother's painting when she hears bulimic screaming. She comes to the rescue, only to find bulimic's body connected to multiple hoses. After a few moments, the multiple hoses force a large amount of food into bulimic's body, causing her stomach to swell and explode. The boogeyman attempts to grab Laura from behind, but she manages to escape. She searches for agoraphobic, only to find him already dead on his bed. The boogeyman continues to chase her, following her smelly ass, until they arrive in the dark archive room. She manages to sneak out and reaches the basement. There, she finds the psychiatrist, who is barely alive. The psychiatrist utters that the boogeyman is real while being in a hypnotic state. Beside her is the dead body of the nurse. The psychiatrist keeps uttering the same phrase, forcing Laura to shut her up to avoid being heard by the boogeyman. Laura then grabs a metal tool for self-defense. Just then, the boogeyman appears behind her. She instantly hits the boogeyman and rushes her smelly life out of the basement. She keeps running away, but the boogeyman is eager to chase her, tracing her smell like a boogie dog. They arrive back at the basement, where Laura lights up the carbon chemicals, causing them to release a huge amount of gas to the boogeyman. As she is running away, she encounters Dr. Allen, who thinks that she is responsible for the patient's deaths. She tries to explain to him that the boogeyman is real, but it appears that Dr. Allen denies the boogeyman's existence. Suddenly, the boogeyman instantly stabs Dr. Allen behind. He removes the boogeyman's mask, and it turns out to be Laura's brother all along. It is then revealed that the brother adopts the boogeyman personality after Dr. Allen locked him inside the closet in order to overcome his fear. This means that the brother conquers the fear of the boogeyman by being the boogeyman himself. The brother, as a boogeyman now, chases the dying Dr. Allen to finish him off. Laura grabs a weapon to fight back against the boogeyman. She searches through the dark basement until she finds Dr. Allen stabbed with sedatives in the eyes. The boogeyman appears behind her again, forcing her to run her smelly body away and again. She grabs gardening scissors as she waits for the boogeyman to pass through. A boogeyman figure slowly approaches her from behind, and she sees it from the reflection. She then instantly stabs the boogeyman figure in the throat, causing him to drop to the floor, pushing the scissor further into its throat until its head is cut off. The shitty police arrive at the scene eventually, and they find Laura to be the only survivor. They remove the mask from the boogeyman figure, and it turns out to be the psychiatrist. Laura then realizes that her brother puts the boogeyman mask on the hypnotized psychiatrist. At this point, the police suspect Laura to be the killer since she killed the psychiatrist. This means that the brother framed her to be the killer. In the end, Laura screams that her brother as a boogeyman is still running free. The movie ends where a boogeyman figure stares at the photo of Laura and her brother together. This is Daniel CC Movie Channel. Stay safe and enjoy your day.